All right, let's get the show on the road.
Sure, it's 6:30.
All right, Commissioners, public forum. Anybody here for a public forum? Hearing none. Moving on. Paul, do you take over from here?
I do. The first thing I'd like to do is make a warrant for the minutes of December 14th, 2020 as written.
I'll second.
Wait a minute. What date did you say, Paul?
December 14th, 2020.
No, January 4th, 2021.
Oh, I am behind the eight ball and I went through the minutes. That's the one I thought, oh, my mistake. Here we go. Okay. Yeah, it's February, isn't it now? In that case, let me revise. I demand to make a motion to approve the minutes of January 4th, 2021 as written.
Yeah, I second that also.
All right, roll call vote. Mr. Ridlack,
Aye.
Mr. Gagner,
Aye.
and Mr. Cantwell.
Aye.
All right, passes unanimously.
Next, I would like to make a motion to approve the following warrants. Commissioner salary, $300. Osterman Propane for delivery on 12/28/2020. Of $1,531.40. Veolia services for December 2020. $39,096.64. Veolia for pilot testing, $548.75. Again, Veolia for the VFD for the COMAG sludge wasting, $2,232.86. Another one for Veolia for the Glen Echo motor starter, $252.98. And once more, Veolia for the PAC for the pilot, $3,703.88. And the last one from Veolia, it's sludge overages for the quarter ending December 2020, $7,865. Next, we have LaForte Electric for 160 C Depot Road, $595. And LaForte Electric again for 41 Sunset. Pump control change out, $595 also. Amazon for microwave and OFC supply, office supplies, $109.13. WB Mason for office supplies, $6.57. And Graves Engineering for Buffinville, $1,196.44. Next, we have Franklin Electric for the pump standoff, $63. McClure Engineering for Buffinville for print copies, $133. And Veolia for services for January 2021, $39,096.64. Again, for Veolia, October 2020 emergency service for the Glen Echo pump station, $386.01. And Veolia for 2020 emergency services at the wastewater treatment plant, $300.23. Again, for Veolia, December emergency services at Mugget Hill Pump Station, $323.85. Another one for Veolia, MTA testing, one for October 2020, November 2020, and December 2020. Each of them is $184. So that'll be 3 times the 184. And the last one we have is McClure for waterline construction, $2,140. And for a grand total of $101,028.38.
Can I get a second? Jack?
Second.
I've got a question on McClure's bill. Is that reimbursable to us?
Yes.
Okay,
I got a question on those sludge overages at 7865. Is that a normal cost? I don't remember seeing that for a while.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
they do it every quarter.
Every quarter, okay.
Yeah, so that's probably for October, November, and December.
All right.
And that's pretty typical to what we've been seeing.
Okay. Okay,
And those costs are more than offset by the surcharges that are being applied.
Okay. All right, any other questions? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Mr. Ridlack,
Aye.
Mr. Gagner,
aye.
and Mr. Cantwell.
Aye.
Next, I'd like to make a motion to approve the following abatements. We have senior abatements for the flat rate, $377.72. And senior abatements for the metered rate, $390.81 for a total of $768.53.
Can I get a second? Jack?
Second.
Roll call vote, Peter?
All right, Mr. Ridlack,
Aye.
Mr. Gagner,
Aye.
and Mr. Cantwell.
Aye. All right, moving on to scheduled appointments, 6:35. Looks like we're on time. Viola, December monthly operating report.
Yes,
And
Vinny,
pilot study.
Vinny will be here to talk to, I'll just hand it over to Vinny to give you the MOR for December 2020.
Okay, I'm gonna read December's MOR. Plant personnel, the month of December, we had myself with a grade 6, Mike Mitchell with a grade 5, and Eric Gatsky with a grade 1. Health and safety for the month, all safety checklists were completed, and we followed the COVID-19 safety protocols. Training in the month of December was on bloodborne pathogens and safety in the workplace. All personnel completed that training. It was hosted on JJ Keller, which is the online platform we've been using. Compliance for the month of December. The plant exceeded the aluminum. The permit level's 93 micrograms per liter. We reported a 385. That's not real crazy considering the pack doses, but it was an exceedance. There were also 2 zinc exceedances in the month of December. They were both back to back and they were reported at a 147. Our limit is 142. And right after we received those exceedances, we turned the pack back up to get our zinc in compliance. And I'm not sure if all you guys know or not, but we recently had a meeting with the EPA and the DEP, and they're now in the process of creating a new draft administrative order that's going to help us stay in compliance for aluminum until the new permit's issued. And the plant can handle the zinc as long as we can put enough aluminum in to treat it. So moving on to the operations and maintenance activities. There are a bunch of tree limbs that fell out back. There's a pretty big hill behind the plant and there's a flood channel in that hill. And the real heavy rains we got in December just pushed all kinds of brush and branches into it. So we spent like 2 days out there cutting all that out of the way so the water wouldn't flood into the plant anymore. We had a VFD replaced for the Comag sludge pump number 3. We drained and cleaned EQ tank 3B. And when we drained it, we found that the diffusers, there were 3 of them broken off. And really working really well. RBC number 7 overflowed that night. We got the heavy rain and it made quite a mess inside the plant. There was no spill to report because it was contained in the building. So we just cleaned it up ourselves. It took about a week to get our hands around everything. And to keep it healthy, we dosed our plant water tank with chlorine. So we were disinfecting as we were hosing it away. The collection system activities, all pump station alarms were completed every week and the monthlies. Full load generator exercising was completed, all except Vine Street, because we started having issues with the fuel pump on that generator. We're still working on those. We installed a small air compressor into the 5 East pump station with about 18 inches of aeration tubing. And we're just trying to get a little bit of pre-treatment before that high BOD hits the plant. So it's a minimal cost. We had all the supplies, so there was no charge there. We set it to run about 8 hours a day, but it doesn't run constantly. So it's on for 5 minutes, off for about 20, just during peak flows. Veolia had a crew out jetting and cameraing the collection system in December. We got a few calls from that. You know, when they're jetting, it creates some turbulence in the sewer lines and people hear gurgling in the toilets and stuff. So we got a few of those nuisance calls, but it was no big deals about it. Several of the pump stations had tree branches come down in the month of December, and we cut those out and cleaned up the pump stations, made sure there was nothing hanging over the fences. North Main Street had a power failure, and when it happened, the generator turned on, but it wouldn't produce any power into the plant. So North Main Street pump station, the generator's running, but not powering anything. We had to call Slim's sewer service out to manage the income and flow. And at the same time, we called out LaFleur Electric. They came in, they found it's a small circuit breaker that helps the transfer switch work. And they ordered a new one. It hasn't been installed yet. They haven't got the parts in, but as soon as it comes in, they'll be out to repair that. Let's see, on 12/5, we had a pretty heavy winds, some heavy rain, and Mugget Hill lost power, and it was out for about 6 or 7 hours when we got a high level alarm, and Slims came out and took care of that for us. He pulled 3 truckloads out of there before it was finally emptied. That place can handle a lot of water. And then moving down to grinder pump calls.
Hey, Vinny, can I stop you for 1 second?
Sure.
I just want to go back to the North Main Street pump station when that power failure happened.
Yep.
Peter, don't we have a contract with a company that manages our generators to make sure that everything's working perfectly?
It's not a generator component. The circuit breaker that's tripping is actually in the main electric panel.
Okay.
Yeah, so the generator company makes sure the generators put power out and run properly, which it does. It's when the power comes out of the generator and goes into the station is where we have the problem.
Okay.
Which
Thank you.
falls into the electrician's hands. Yep, no problem. Any more questions? Okay, I'm moving down to the grinder pump section now. On December 8th, number 12 Morton Station Road was getting a new grinder pump installation. And part of their kit had the wrong pump in it. And it took us a little while to figure out what was going on, but the pump that was supplied with the kit or placed with the kit was for a different style of panel that was used in the past. It doesn't work with the new current panel. So once we figured out what was going on, we put a new pump in and everything worked out good for them. 94 Lakeview, we got a grinder pump call out there. The alarm cleared before we arrived. It was an original system. So we scheduled Ed LaFord Electric to go out there and upgrade it. At 122 Glen Echo, it was already an upgraded system and it just had a float sticking issue. 73 Lakeview was the original system. The pump was bad. We replaced it, got it up and running. Again, we scheduled Ed LaFord Electric to go and upgrade it to the systems that are currently in service. December 1st, 35 Hollywood, we had Slim Sewer Service out to clean the wet well. And in the month of November, we had done a couple of service calls out to that house. It was just scheduling Slims to go clean the tank. On December 29th, we went out to 6 Lakeview. And the problem at that house is the wiring for the floats is faulty and it'll work and then it'll stop working. So we ran a temporary wire over their yard, so they won't have that issue anymore. And we instructed them they need to get a contractor to replace it. Typically, that would be the town's responsibility, but at some point, I don't know if it's the current homeowner or not, somebody had that tank moved from its original place. And during the move, they did a shoddy job of splicing the electric underground. It should have been all new electric. So that's why we handed it off to the homeowner to handle.
So how do we make sure it gets done right this time?
The person doing the job should be calling for an inspection when they do it. And
All right.
we recommended that they called Ed Lafort to do it because
Okay.
he is pretty much the guy to call for these things. He knows everything about them. And going back up to the 122 Glen Echo, not that one specifically, but the float stuck. We had an issue in January at a house where they kept having float issues. So we had LaFleur Electric come out and tell us what we could do to prevent this in the future. And they built in a redundant run. So when it hits alarm, it'll actually pump itself down. And we had it done at one house that kept having float issues, and we haven't had any problems there since. And they showed us how to do it. It's really simple. The panels come with everything you need. It's just adding 2 little pieces of wire to another relay that's already in there. So we shouldn't have too many float issues once we start getting these all upgraded. Moving down to the dig safes. December, we had the same exact amount of requests as we had in November. There were 27 dig safe requests received. And that concludes the MOR for the month of December 2020. Anybody have any more questions for me?
All right. Doesn't look like any more questions. Thanks, Vinny.
Nice, thank you. Have a good night, guys.
You too.
All right, Vinny.
New business, Peter.
Well, if we can just hit the zinc pilot study quick.
Oh, yep. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so Monday, January 5th, John, Vinny, and myself met with Doug Koopman from the EPA and David Boyer from Mass DEP to discuss the letter that we sent out that you guys approved at the last meeting, or it might have been in December. And the letter we sent that requesting that our aluminum limit be increased so that we can continue using PAC to meet our zinc limits for treatment. And we have concerns that to use the PAC to meet the zinc, it's making us not be able to meet our aluminum limit as a consequence. And part of just take a step back, our current NPDES permit was, I believe, issued around 2010 or 2011, and it's a 5-year permit. So it expired in 2015, 2016. And because that's expired and we haven't really had much discussion on what the new permit might look like for discharge limits or what they might want to see for changes made at the plant, it's hard to really do a full depth analysis of the best way or to talk about making any substantial changes to help us treat for zinc right now to meet the limit, or what to do to help us with aluminum, when we don't know if we're going to have to do some other changes in a year or two when we get our new NPDES permit. So that's kind of the driving factor of why we're asking the EPA to increase our aluminum limit temporarily until a new NPDES permit is issued. In that discussion, Mr. Koopman seemed to be on board with it, and he said he was going to go back and talk to his people to see if he could draft something, like Vinny mentioned earlier, to increase our aluminum limit temporarily for the remainder of our current NPDES permit until the new NPDES permit is issued. So hopefully that goes well, and we'll be hearing from him soon, and we'll get a higher limit. That means we can keep treating with aluminum, not have to cut back on the dose so much to try and meet both limits, but that way we'll be able to meet our zinc limit, and then just again be able to meet the aluminum limit as well, and be able to use that until we get our new NPDES permit and see what else they put on for maybe new restrictions or anything like that. So that's where we are with the zinc pilot study. So as far as that goes, we're going to continue to use the sulfide, continue to use the aluminum pack to help us treat zinc.
All right, perfect. Anybody got any questions about that? Sounds good, Pete. Going on to new business.
Okay, annual town meeting. We're probably going to be asking for a warrant article to be on annual town meeting. As you know, our operations agreement with Veolia is set to expire in October of 2022. Our current agreement has an initial term of 3 years with 2 one-year options. I'd like to extend the length of that term when we go out to bid next for the next agreement. According to Mass Procurement Law, to enter into an agreement longer than 3 years, you need town meeting approval. I've spoken with the finance director and the town administrator, and they verified that. So I've asked the town administrator to put a placeholder on the town meeting warrant for us so that we'll be able to do that. I recommend that we ask for an initial 5-year term with 2 5-year options. If the board's okay with that, we'll continue moving forward. I think the initial 5-year term will give whoever gets it a good amount of time to get in here. If it's not Veolia, get an understanding of how the plant works, and we'll be able to see what they can do. And again, as long as they do well in that 5-year term, whoever it is, we have the option whether or not to extend it or not. So, and then we can do the same for one more 5-year option. So.
Pete, just wondering, so I haven't been on here to negotiate any of these contracts. Do we go to them setting our expectations, or do they come to us with their expectations and a bid for running our system? How does that work?
As part of the RFP process, we'll go ahead and identify what it takes to operate the system currently, and they'll bid on it based on that.
Okay.
And so all the key things that they need to meet, like our NIPD's discharge limits, that'll all be identified in,
Yeah, but how about
in
like
RFP.
How about like the terms and conditions of the contract, like this 5-year term, 5-year option thing?
That will be non-negotiable. We'll set that, and that's what it's going to be.
Okay.
Because again, once town meeting approves it, we're not going to really want to alter from that after we go to them and get that approval.
Perfect.
So if there's no objection, I'll keep working with the town administrator to do that, and I'll keep you up to date as far as what's needed.
You don't need a motion for that, Peter, do you?
No, I kind of just want to, again, keep it on your radar and make sure you're not surprised when in May, all of a sudden we have a warrant article on town meeting floor. So, no, as long as there's no objections to it, I don't need a motion.
All right, thank you. Next up, Peter.
Yeah, next up is a resignation of a Water Sewer Commission member. On January 6, 2021, Phil Donahue resigned as a member of the Water Sewer Commission. I would ask that you take a vote to accept his resignation. The town clerk has added this open seat to the election in May as a 2-year seat. You also need to decide if you want to leave the seat vacant until the election or work with the Board of Selectmen to temporarily fill the seat until the election.
Do you have any advice on that, Peter?
I think the election is close enough. I don't think we have to do anything to advertise the seat to get someone temporarily. So I think you can leave it vacant, and again, it'll be the election. Like I said, it's only gonna be a couple of months, and it'll be filled.
Okay. And we'd like to thank Mr. Donahue for his time he spent on the commission. He was definitely a helpful resource, and we're going to miss him.
So again, I'm not sure if we have to formally take a vote to accept his resignation because it's there.
Yeah.
And it's done. So.
Okay.
But definitely say thank Mr. Donahue for the time he put in and the work he did on behalf of the commission.
Absolutely. Next up, Peter.
All right. Sewer treatment plant ceiling tile replacement. We have multiple ceiling tiles throughout the offices and the lab that have water stains and possible mold issues. I have an estimate from M&M Cleaning and Restoration to remove and replace all the ceiling tiles clean all the areas affected by the tile replacement, and handle any mold abatement that may be necessary. The total cost for this project is $5,585. I'd ask that you approve this expenditure, and the funds can be taken from the sewer capital account.
Paul, I'm going to recuse myself on this conversation. If you could take over, I would appreciate it.
All right, well, I think I'm the only one on the board now that was here when these ceiling tiles were replaced a few years ago. I saw what was down there and it seemed to be water damage. I think the first thing we gotta do is to find the source of the damage to the ceilings. Do we have a leaky pipe? Do we have a leaky roof? Do we just have condensation? And address that first. Once we're sure that there's not gonna be more water damage, then the ceiling tiles should be replaced. It seems to be a common pattern that maybe not all of the tiles need to be replaced, only the damaged ones. I'll let the board make a decision on that. I guess it would depend what percentage of the tiles need to be replaced. If it's 5 or 10%, I would say, just replace the tiles. If it's 50 or 60%, then do the entire ceiling. But first, like I say, the first thing we got to do is find the source of that damage.
Paul, as far as I see with the ceiling tiles, the stains haven't really been growing. So it seems like whatever happened to cause the stains happened a long time ago. So it doesn't seem like an ongoing issue. It just seems like something that happened, who knows when, from what, but it seemed to have been isolated and stopped. But again, as I look up at the tiles in our office, a lot of them are sagging and they look like they've been here kind of much longer than maybe 5, 6, 7 years. So I know you have been on the board for probably nine years now. So it could have been done maybe 9 years ago, but I don't think it's been done as recently as 5 or 6 years ago.
I don't think so either. I've been on the board for 14 years, so it could have been, 3 or 4 years. They could be 10 years old. And I'm not going to discuss that. That's up to anybody, whatever everybody wants to do. But I still think somebody should at least stick their head up above those ceiling tiles and see if there's any obvious source of water leaking, or if it's, what pipes are up there that could cause condensation. I'll get some idea. I can say those stains may have been done 3 years ago and haven't changed since. But one way or the other, it could happen again, and we should just try to find out the cause.
Yeah, I think we could do that as part of the replacement while the tiles are down. Because again, and the other thing, as when they were doing the light upgrade to LEDs last year, or maybe 2 years ago now, they were finding a bunch of, say, mouse droppings and stuff like that when they were pulling the lights down. So I think to have M&M Cleaning come in and while they're removing the tiles, do a good clean of the area as well. And then we can while the tiles are down, we can peek our heads up in there and see what's going on and try and identify what caused the leaks. But as we looked at the tiles, some of them were replaced when they did the lights, and you can definitely see the difference between the new tiles and the old tiles. So that's kind of why we were just going along with just having them come in, replace everything, do a good cleaning, and kind of get it set from there.
Okay, well, I guess it's up to me to ask somebody to make a motion as to what to do to accept you only got one quote?
I did. Just because M&M has the ability they have the ability to replace the tiles, clean the affected areas, and also handle any of the mold abatement that might be required. So I just stuck with them.
You need a motion for that. Is the amount within your own jurisdiction of doing it without the board's approval?
Not yet. So far, the board has only allowed me to go up to $2,500.
Okay, I was
as
thinking
far
it was
as spending.
10,000 when I said that.
No,
Well, then-
not yet. So
Coming back, I'll entertain a motion to get this job done. Guess it has to be Jack.
yeah, so Mr. Ridlack, would you, if you're not opposed to the project, would you mind making a motion to approve the funding?
Sure.
Okay.
Is there any other discussion on this?
Paul, can you second the motion?
Oh, yes, excuse me, I meant to, I second the motion. And if there's no other discussion, we'd need a roll call vote.
Mr. Ridlack,
Aye.
Mr. Gagner,
Aye.
and Mr. Cantwell?
Abstain?
Perfect. Thank you all very much. I'll work with them to get that done, and I'll let you know the results of what we find.
And back to Dave, I assume.
Yep, thanks. Peter, on with the 2020 annual report.
Yes, the 2020 annual report is due to Mary Devlin by March 4th. I included a draft copy for your review and comments. If you want, we can, I guess, take it under advisement now and make a final decision at our March 1st meeting. That'll give you enough time to make any changes to get it to Mary for March 4th. Or if you're okay with it as it is, you can just approve it as submitted. We still have time. I tried to get it to you early enough, so if you want to sit on it and look at it and let myself or Sue know if you want to have anything added or changed, we can do that.
Yeah, why don't we postpone that, Peter, and put that on the agenda at the next meeting?
Okay. Very good.
On to the sewer use at Countryside Condominiums.
Yes, so I guess in December, you awarded Countryside Condominiums a sewer use abatement due to them having a leaking water pipe. So we bill them their usage based on the Southbridge water meter, and they had a leaking underground pipe that prior to entering the building. So the meter read that we got from Southbridge was a little bit erroneous because the flow never made it into the buildings. So you issued them an abatement for their billing from July through September. The leak was not found until December of 2020. So that also caused those higher readings for the last quarter of October through December. So we'd like to go, I just wanted to kind of give you the information and let you know we're considering, instead of using the current Southbridge meter read, to bill them for October through December based on their average use over the prior 8 quarters.
Peter, what was their bill and what's the difference, I guess, in the amount? I mean, we're talking thousands and thousands of dollars of leaked water, or?
Yes, you're talking quite a bit of, that's in cubic feet, correct, Sue? So I think it was like 7,000 cubic feet versus maybe 1,200 cubic feet average.
This one was, yeah, 7,900 versus like anywhere from 1,000 to 1,200 in other quarters.
That's not dollar amount, that's just
Right.
their actual usage.
So do we end up paying for that water that got discarded?
Well, they have to, I'm sure Southbridge won't give them a discount for that water that got discarded, so they'll have to pay Southbridge full price. But again, because the leak was outside in the ground, we assume it didn't get into the sewer system.
Right.
So we just rather than bill them based on an incorrect charge and make them file in an abatement.
Sure.
Because if we give them an abatement, they still have to pay the full bill up front, and then they just receive a credit over the next few quarters.
Right.
So we know there was a problem there. I think it's easier just to do this for now. And then we'll get the meter read squared away after this billing and be good to go for the next quarter.
Okay. Do you need a motion for this, Peter?
Yes, please. Just something stating that you're authorizing us to use the estimated billing for Countryside Condominiums for the quarter of October through December of 2020.
Okay, I'll make a motion that you bill them according to the average that they've used over the last, was it 8 quarters, whatever you averaged it out with. Period.
Okay.
Jack, can I get a second?
Second.
Okay. Roll call vote, Peter?
All right, Mr. Ridlack,
Aye.
Mr. Gagner,
Aye.
and Mr. Cantwell.
Aye.
All right, excellent, thank you.
All right, moving on to old business. SCADA upgrade.
Yes, so
For qualifications. Go ahead, Peter. Sorry.
that's okay. So Veolia has worked with our vendors to create the attached scope of work for the SCADA upgrade. I have forwarded this scope of work to the town administrator. And rather than doing a request for qualifications, which would make it a two-step process where you do the qualifications first and then you have to go back out to negotiate a price, we're going to do a request for proposals, and we're going to have them submit their how they're going to approach the project first, and then attach a bid price separately. So we'll review them based on how they're going to do the work and their experience, and then we'll, as a secondary criteria, we'll open up their bid package after you rank them. So it'll let us hopefully pick the best company, not necessarily the lowest bidder. Because for this project, I don't think we want to be stuck with the lowest bidder when they're working on the PLCs and the SCADA stuff. The plant can go down for 6 to 12 hours at a time and create huge havoc and huge expenses for us if it's not done correctly. So the town administrator is actually, he didn't submit, but he sent me a draft RFP today. I forwarded it over to you guys for review if you have some time to look at it. So if you could look at that, and if you have any questions or anything like that, let me know, but it should be pretty straightforward. The time frame in the draft RFP is for that to go out shortly, for us to receive proposals, I think by March 1st, for us to rank them and go ahead and finalize and have a contract done by April 1st, so we can get this project done sooner than later. So if there's no objections, I'll just keep on, again, moving down the path, working with the town administrator, get the RFP done. I submitted it over to Vinnie and John Oatley to see if they had any comments, and we'll go from there. And,
Thanks, Peter. I think we all have the same goal in mind here, getting this up and running.
Right. Yeah. So again, as you look through that, if you have any questions or comments or want to see anything change, just let me know and we can make that happen.
Thanks, Peter. Moving on to the 2022 water and sewer budget.
Yes. So this was on your last meeting, and you asked to carry it forward. If we could, I guess I'm not sure how in depth you want to get with the budgets, or if you've reviewed them and don't have any questions, if you could, vote to approve them, so I can let the finance director know that you've voted to approve them as they are, so she knows what to move forward with.
Paul, would you like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the budgets as Peter presented them to us, was at the last meeting.
Jack, can I have a second, please?
Second.
Okay, roll call vote, Peter.
All right, Mr. Ridlack,
Aye.
Mr. Gagnon,
Aye.
Mr. Cantwell.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Moving on, water line construction update.
Yeah, there's really not much to update. Again, we're just getting through the holidays, and with the weather, there really hasn't been much going on. So, trying to get my screen back.
All right.
Yeah, I did have a couple things, didn't I? So the Bay Path pump station, yeah, no work has been done. Service connections, Albanese Brothers has been installing. They have not been installing any service connections over the last 4 weeks due to the holidays and the weather. Their plumbing contractors are starting to do work in the homes, in the basements where the water service lines have been installed, and just doing some small stuff like that. Other than that, there really hasn't been much going on. So,
All right. Anybody else have any questions about that? All right. Other business. Hearing none. Next meeting,
March 1st.
March 1st.
If anything comes up in the meantime and we need to do something sooner, we'll go ahead and reach out and schedule that. But for now, I think we should be all set to keep it out to March 1st.
Paul, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
Jack, can I get a second?
Second.
Peter, roll call?
Roll call vote. Mr. Ridlack,
Aye.
Mr. Gagner,
Aye.
and Mr. Cantwell.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
So thank you, gentlemen. And again, we do have that open seat that's going to be available for, so if you know anyone interested in running to join the commission, it'll be for a two-year commitment. So it's definitely a nice way for someone to kind of test the waters and see if they like it.
Great. Thanks, Peter. Have a good night, everybody.
I don't.
Thanks, you too. Enjoy the snow.